Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Honoring a Civil Rights Hero by Amanda Doering. Celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day. People of all races sing as they walk in a peace parade. Speakers tell of a man who worked to gain equal rights for all people. These people are celebrating Martin Luther King Jr. Day. On the third Monday in January, people honor the life and dreams of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. What is Martin Luther King Jr. Day? Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a U.S. holiday. King was a minister in Atlanta, Georgia. In the 1960s, King was a leader of the civil rights movement. King worked to earn equal rights for Black people. Equality and freedom are important parts of the U.S. culture. Because of King's work, people of all races have the same freedoms. Fact: King is the first American since George Washington to have a national holiday in his honor. Segregation. In the 1960s, Blacks and whites were segregated. Black children and white children went to different schools. They couldn't eat at the same restaurants. Blacks were forced to follow unfair laws called Jim Crow laws. In some southern states, Blacks could not vote. They had to sit in the back of city buses. The Civil Rights Movement. King held peace marches to change unfair laws. In 1963, King told of his dream for equality. At least 250,000 marchers listened to his I Have a Dream speech. King spoke out against violence. He believed laws could be changed in a peaceful way. Fact: a reading of King's I Have a Dream speech is part of most Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebrations. Change comes slowly. King's peaceful marches worked. In 1964, segregation was made illegal. Whites and Blacks could go to the same schools. Blacks were allowed to vote. Many whites still opposed equal rights for Blacks, and violence against Blacks was common. People threatened to kill King. He gave his life. On April 4th, 1968, King was killed by James Earl Ray. Ray was against equal rights. People around the world were saddened by King's death. 4 days later, U.S. Representative John Conyers asked that King's birthday be made a holiday. The government turned down Conyers' idea. Fact: at least 100,000 people attended King's funeral in Atlanta. Making a holiday. Conyers kept working to honor King with a holiday. He gathered the names of 6 million people who also wanted a holiday for King. In 1983, President Ronald Reagan signed a law to make King's birthday a national holiday. The first Martin Luther King Jr. Day was celebrated in 1986. Fact: although Martin Luther King Jr. was born January 17, 1929, the holiday is celebrated the third Monday in January. Remembering King. People of all races celebrate Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Some people go to church. Others walk in peace marches. Some listen to recordings of King's speeches. People celebrate the holiday to remember King's dream of equal rights for everyone. Fact: most government offices and schools are closed on Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Amazing holiday story. In Philadelphia, Martin Luther King Jr. Day is a time to help others. At least 45,000 people join in the Martin Luther King Jr. Day of Service. People of all races join hands in peaceful marches. They read books. People share ideas to make their community safe. Volunteers bring food to those in need. By helping others, people in Philadelphia continue King's work for peace and equal rights. Hands-on chain of hands. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. believed in equal rights for all people. Have an adult help you make this chain of hands to show how people of all races can join together. What you need: a pencil, black, yellow, white, red, and brown construction paper, scissors, a group of friends, tape. What you do: number 1, trace your hand on a piece of construction paper. Number 2, use a scissors to cut out your paper hand. Number 3, have your friends trace their hands on construction paper. Use a scissors to cut out the hands. Number 4, on each hand, write a word that describes King, such as kind, smart, caring, brave, strong, or peaceful. Number 5, tape the hands together to form a long chain. Display the chain in your classroom or at home. Glossary. Civil rights movement. The work of thousands of people in the mid-1900s to gain equal rights for all people. Culture. A people's way of life, ideas, arts, customs, and traditions. Jim Crow laws. Laws saying that blacks and whites should live separately. Race. A group of people with the same background. Rights. What the law says people can have or do. Segregation. The act of keeping people or groups apart.